I got onto this platform, 3, 4 years ago when the competition was a lot less, when they were really desperate to partner with authors to build their community. So they featured me as a suggested author to follow, et cetera, et cetera. They don't do that anymore. But because I got in early, I received those benefits, and now I can just coast and continue. It's very difficult for people to get started on these channels today in 2018. You've kind of missed the boat here. Same thing with Twitter. It's so noisy. On Twitter, if you're trying to become the next Twitter star, good luck. I've got almost 1 million followers here, not necessarily saying I deserve that, but rather because I just started, 10 years ago when it was a lot less noisy. So that's kind of the theme today. We're talking about where to focus our efforts in 2019 and beyond. On the agenda, it's mostly unicorns, although we will, if hopefully time permitting, squeeze some marketing in there. We're talking about my 3 areas to focus on in 2019. So let's start with part 1, which is recognizing the impact of machine learning on growth marketing and coming up with an insane hack to defeat machine learning, across different marketing channels like SEO, pay-per-click, social media marketing, etc. So basically, guys, here's the bad news. In 2018, 97% of your marketing efforts go nowhere. My blogging efforts last year, for example, I actually cranked out 300 blog posts. 8 of them were unicorns and did spectacularly well. The remaining 2.6% of them did terribly, and were complete donkeys. And why was that the case? It's basically what's happening here is that Facebook and Google algorithms are dramatically changing how traffic is being distributed. Essentially, machine learning algorithms are rewarding unicorns and punishing donkeys. Just to give you some proof here, if you think about, I'm an author at Inc. magazine, and here's sort of the top authors for the top articles for the month. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and last year. And basically, what you can see here is in 2015, if you looked at their top 10 articles, it was kind of like communism. Every article was more or less, getting the same amount of traffic. Fast forward to 2016, the top 3 articles are doing a lot better. And last year, it's like the top 2 articles did more traffic than everything else on the website combined. And so basically, guys, we're talking a little bit about it's not just about traffic, also about social sharing. So basically, if you think about 2015, the top articles on Inc. magazine, it's again communism. They're all getting more or less the same amount of shares. 2016, the top 2 articles getting more shares than everything else on the site. So basically, what we're seeing across all these different channels is that social media and other marketing channels are becoming increasingly take all. And so basically, my point is we need to just adjust the tactics to adjust for some of these new algorithms, because what machine learning is doing is it's using the wisdom of the crowds to kind of really amplify the organic reach of a small number of really spectacular unicorn posts. And so the good news is that there's a bunch of loopholes here in terms of the Facebook and Google algorithms that are driving all the traffic to your site, and we just need to identify and sort of exploit them. So the first thing that you need to do is sort of understand the difference between the unicorns and the donkeys. And the way that machine learning differentiates between a really spectacular piece of marketing versus a donkey is to look at the click-through rates. It's always been the case that a small number of stories generate most of your blog traffic, that a small number of your social media updates generates all the engagements. In AdWords, it's always been about the really high click-through rate ads. Generate substantial discounts. It's even more so in Twitter when you promote really engaging posts. Those are super cheap, and so these concepts are extending to other channels such as organic search. So what we're finding is that click-through rates are having a dramatic impact on search engine organic rankings. How do we know this? Basically, we observe thousands of keywords, and like over time, like every month, it's kind of like time-lapse photography, looking to see what's changing with the SERP. And what we're finding is that the higher click-through rate listings, the ones that are exceeding the expected click-through rate, are kind of floating to the top of the page at the expense of everything else. The donkeys with the low click-through rates, below average click-through rates, are sinking to the bottom of the page. And of course, it's the same thing with the Facebook newsfeed algorithm. Everyone knows how this works because of all the fake news in the news these days. It's just basically the stupid newsfeed algorithm. It's just dumb machine learning. It just, if you engage with stuff in the content, you're just more likely to see that kind of stuff in the future, and vice versa. Here's one other interesting thing that I'm not sure if you knew about, but conversion rates are actually impacted greatly by click-through rates. What we find across different e-commerce providers is that the higher the click-through rate of the thing that drove them to the e-commerce store, whether it's like an ad or an email or whatever, the higher the click-through rate, the higher the propensity to buy that thing is. And that's just because getting people excited about something before they click on it, it tends to the excitement tends to carry through, and people tend to finish whatever the heck they were hoping to finish. So guys, bottom line here, when it comes to really fantastically performing campaigns across SEO or social or ads, basically the main thing here is that you really need to focus on the high engagement stuff, with the very high click-through rates, because the platforms like Google and Facebook that kind of deliver the traffic to your system, to your website, these like PPC, SEO, social, they all employ the same machine learning algorithms that identify high engagement, high click-through rate content, and reward them with very high visibility. And so, basically, if there's one crazy hack for 2019 and beyond, it's to really think about the click-through rates of the stuff that you're sending out across the different channels and make sure they have high click-through rates. And so let's talk a little bit about donkey and unicorn detection. So basically, there's a little difference between high engagement unicorns and low engagement donkeys in terms of it's a very relativistic difference. Like it has to do with their relative difference in engagement. If you think about email marketing, what are the emails that are likely to defeat the spam filters to actually show up in people's inboxes and be seen? The spam filters work on machine learning too. Like if people, open it like crazy, it actually increases the visibility. So basically, what you try to do is look at the open rates of your campaigns and focus on the stuff that has higher engagement rates. In terms of offers, like the average offer on the internet, it's like 2.35% average conversion rates, and basically the top 10% of offers, these have conversion rates of 11.5%, and so you don't need a ton of white paper downloads and all this crap. All you need is really just a few really killer, like one or more really killer offers that's doing really well, and basically most of the value tends to come from just a small number of the campaigns, and basically all I'm suggesting is that we focus more on the top 3% of content, because that's the stuff that's going to be picked out by the machine learning and exposed in an integrated way to the end users. Once you've kind of identified kind of your best 3% of stuff, sort of your best material, if you will, you need to sound the unicorn and make a unicorn alert and make unicorn babies. So what do I mean by this is, like, how I was saying that 8 of my articles did really well last year, and 290 of them to 292 were garbage. Basically, this was one of my unicorns. This blog post, 5 big changes coming to AdWords, everything you need to know. Basically, it was doing so well. It was getting thousands of it's probably 10,000 shares on Facebook, and then 2,000 shares on Twitter, et cetera, 33 comments. Keep in mind, my typical blog post does maybe, I don't know, 500 views. This was doing like 100,000. Okay, so this is like so much better than the average blog post. This is a unicorn. And so what do you do when you find a unicorn? What most marketers do, unfortunately, is they kind of congratulate themselves and then look to their marketing calendar and say like, oh well, what's next on the calendar? As if this is like they're enslaved by a marketing calendar. It's like, oh well, it's the holidays, let's do some kind of a holiday marketing campaign for I don't know, some dumb holiday promotion. Okay, and the problem with that is it's actually the worst thing you could do. What you're supposed to do instead is take a moment to kind of take a break and jump off of the content treadmill and instead sound the unicorn alert. So you found this really high performing piece of content with high click-through rates. Let's make some unicorn babies. And of course, that's a metaphor for just saying, let's clone or replicate kind of the success that we've found here in this campaign by replicating and extending it to other channels. So for example, one example of a unicorn baby is to just do a contributed article on the identical topic. So I just took the same article, had 20 minutes rewriting the article to make it into like a listicle, if you will, and posted it as a guest post article on Search Engine Journal. This thing got 12,000 reads, 2,300 shares. Their typical article only does 200-300 reads, so this is like substantially better than their expected article performance. And of course, this was totally not a surprise because the shares and the because it did so well on my own blog. Another example of a unicorn baby is just a follow-up story. So this is where you take the original idea and explore it in greater depth. So basically, how there's 5 new things you need to know about. I created 5 new unicorn babies by just writing a dedicated article, one for each of the 5 new features. And of course, every one of these follow-up stories did just as well, generating almost 100,000 visitors each, which is insane if you consider my average article, probably does like 500 reviews. You can turn it into infographics and videos. I don't love spending money on videos and infographics that go nowhere. So one way that I de-risk this operation is I only create videos and infographics for my proven topics. You can create conference and webinar presentations from your best ideas. So for example, when I found the unicorn, because that article was doing so well, I told my team, we got to do this. We got to do a webinar on this exact same topic. And so we put up the registration page, and we sent out the email blasts asking people to sign up for the webinar, and it got 5,000 registrations, which is like amazing if you consider our average webinar registration levels was at the time only 674 registrations. So this, and in fact, the 5,000 registrations was capped. It was related to a system limit on GoToWebinar. GoToWebinar kind of breaks down after 5,000 connections. So my point is just to say, like, we did this unicorn webinar. It did so well that was expected, but we extracted even more value out of it. Like, so after we did that webinar, I told my team, like, we're doing this again tomorrow. They thought I was crazy, but my point was, like, we don't know how many people were interested in this. Like, people were trying to get into the door and they couldn't get in. So there might be more people out there, you know what I mean? So we did the same story again, and it again generated another 5,000 registrations. And so we did it again, and then again. We did it 5 times basically. And that one webinar 5 times generated, 71% of all the leads through our webinar marketing efforts for that year. So the last idea here is just boosting the unicorns with increased ad spending for social media ads. So for example, you should be basically spending money to promote your best content campaigns because very, very high click-through rates. In this case, you can see I'm paying 1 penny a click for these ads. The relevance score is so high, and same thing on Twitter. If your engagement rates are super high, in this case I'm paying 6 cents for each click, which is a pretty good deal. So hopefully I've convinced you that the click-through rates matter for 2019. I wanted to tell you a little bit about how to increase those click-through rates, and basically there's like one crazy hack. So it has to do with a brand hack, which doubles and triples your click-through rates. Basically, I did some research comparing the click-through rates of new versus repeat visitors. So new visitors are kind of like a proxy for people who don't know you. They've never visited your site before. They have low brand affinity. Repeat visitors, that's kind of like people with high brand affinity. They've heard of you because they've visited your site before. So we wanted to do some analysis comparing the difference between click-through rates of people who've heard of you versus people who haven't heard of you. And what I can tell you here is that the click-through rates of people who've heard of you before were dramatically higher. They were 2 to 3 times higher click-through rates. And we saw this pattern across all of the different verticals. So basically, it's not just about the click-through rates, also the conversion rates were same pattern. Like, not only were they 2 to 3 times more likely to click on your stuff, they were 2 to 3 times more likely to buy that stuff. Remember what I was saying earlier, that the higher the click-through rate, the higher the conversion rate, because that excitement and familiarity tends to lead to completed registrations or completed purchases or whatever the heck you're trying to do. So the hack here is basically it's a brand hack. You need, in order to get super high click-through rates, you need more people to have heard of you, and the idea here is to promote content to people outside of your niche. To connect to people earlier in the purchasing cycle, so that they develop brand biases towards you and your products earlier in the purchasing cycle, so that later when they need to buy your stuff, they'll be biased towards you. Let me give you an example of how you can actually do this. Basically what you do is you're going to have to do some audience analytics. You'll have to figure out amongst your target audience, like your buyers, what are their big interests other than the exact thing that you're selling. So like, MobileMonkey, sure, we sell chatbots, okay, but our customers also like growth marketing. So, a great way to market our products, like even if you're not interested in chatbots, is to go after growth marketers to produce valuable content earlier in the funnel, so that we can develop these sort of affinities and brand biases towards our products. How do you figure out what people are interested in? Well, this used to be so hard to do, but now it's super easy. All you need to do is go into Google Analytics and look at the User Explorer, and to gain exact insights into what kind of TV shows that they're interested in, or what kind of demographics or interests or behaviors they have. Guys, Facebook is also pretty cool, although they actually got rid of some of this stuff recently because of all that Cambridge Analytica brouhaha. But basically, there's still a lot of interesting things there. You can get pretty granular information about who's visiting your site, who's converting, what are their interests, what are their demographics, etc. Same thing with even stupid Twitter. That it's like, you can do audience insights on your Twitter following, and take this for example. 70% of the people who are following me on Twitter, they are interested in entrepreneurship, and that is a really valuable kind of piece of information for me, because it means that if I want to go after people who are likely to buy my stuff, I have to talk more about entrepreneurship, and so that's exactly what I do. I actually I use platforms like Medium to create and promote off-topic content in order to build these brand biases. And I actually spend 20% of my time, my marketing time and budget, on doing this kind of stuff. A lot of my competitors think I'm crazy, like, why are you doing all this stuff that has nothing to do with selling chatbots? But honestly, if the way the marketing works, it's all about brand affinity. We need to create and promote inspirational and memorable content about you and your brand to your target market, before they enter the purchase cycle, like before they want to buy whatever the heck you're selling. This way, people will see that content. They don't necessarily buy you right that minute, but later when the need arises to buy your stuff, they'll either do a branded search for you, or we'll do an unbranded search and be biased towards clicking and buying from you. Guys, there is a really cool thing about this hack, which is that it just gets better and better. See, the higher the click-through rates you can achieve in your marketing, the more clicks and conversions you'll generate. But as you generate more clicks and conversions, that means more people have heard of you, and so that means you're generating stronger and stronger brand affinity, and so that tends to lead to higher click-through rates, and around we go. This is just a virtuous cycle upon which, big empires are built, like big brands. Guys, this might taking you to part 2. I wanted to share a little bit about where I'm focusing my social media efforts in 2019, in terms of what are the channels and tactics that I'm employing on social media, and obviously organic reach on social media is pretty terrible, but there are a few pockets that are worth pointing out, that are still interesting. I mean, Facebook groups, are actually quite amazing. I have a group of my own here that has thousands of members, and it's growing like crazy, and the organic reach in this group is still quite impressive. Although that doesn't mean that it's automatic. You have to do a couple little tricks to make that reach of your group fantastic. One of the things that I do is I'll just comment like very open-ended questions once in a while. Like once a week, I'll just post some kind of community question, encouraging people to just answer a question like, "Hey, where are you guys from?" I mean, this thing gets like 129 comments. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of reactivating affinity for the group, because of stupid machine learning. Remember, machine learning says, like, if nobody is engaging with this group, well, then why should I bother showing the group content in the first place? So you kind of have to do these little things once in a while just to get the numbers up. A kind of a less silly way of doing this is to create really valuable live stream content. So Virginia, who's one of our next presenters, actually does a weekly Friday talk on chatbots and how to be successful with chatbots. And this thing generates a tremendous number of views, so like 700 views. That's 10% of the entire audience of this group. And that kind of keeps the engagement, magical score numbers in Facebook very, very happy. LinkedIn, pretty interesting still in 2019 or 18, although it's not as great as it was last year. The engagement on LinkedIn is still pretty decent. I just posted kind of basically an ad for the Growth Marketing Summit in my LinkedIn feed, and it got 15,000 views. It's not terrible. Like you definitely won't get 15,000 views posting something to your Facebook page, and I don't have that many followers. You know what I mean, on LinkedIn. So how the heck do you do this? The algorithm on LinkedIn, it's not very complicated at all. It's about as complicated as boiling water. Basically, what you can do is you can ask people to share and comment on your posts, and if they do this, it'll actually increase the reach. And this is kind of like optimizing for Facebook, like 10 years ago. It still works. It's kind of crazy. What I have found is that posting stuff to LinkedIn, and it actually drives a lot of profile views, and the profile views are very valuable because a small like 3-4-5% of people who view your profile will actually navigate to your website. A couple other crazy things that we've been trying are just publishing, broetry. These are those weird double space poems that I'm sure you've seen on LinkedIn, where it talks about life hacks or work and life. The funny thing about this is like, this stuff is like maybe 100 words, okay, like 100 word long. It maybe takes about 15 minutes to create. And what I'm finding is that they generate an enormous amount of views, like 1 million views, or 1,000 comments, etc. It's video also does pretty well on LinkedIn, and you might be wondering, like, what the heck is the point of all this stuff? Is it just to be famous? Actually, that could be one of the objectives. But what I have found is that all sorts of interesting things comes from this mysterious LinkedIn, like through the inbox, all sorts of different interview requests or business opportunities or all sorts of interesting things comes through LinkedIn, and you never know what you're going to get. And then this is like one from like BBC's senior broadcast journalist. There's a couple crazy changes going on at Twitter. I haven't done the full research on this, but I know that something is changing. I think that because of all the fake news issues, I think Twitter is actually favoring kind of larger verified profiles. So I can just show you what that looks like. So like in my Twitter profile here, this is my audience analytics. Like, I've been posting like the same amount of stuff, like kind of weird stuff to my Twitter. Remember, I do off-topic stuff, so I do stuff about business productivity and entrepreneurship because my audience have these interests. But what's so crazy is that this stuff is getting like 2 million impressions and I don't know, 8,400 retweets. So this stuff is happening more and more for my profile, and I think that like the current theory that I have is that they're just prioritizing. This one has like, I don't know, 1.5 million views and 7,300 retweets. I think they might be prioritizing larger accounts at the expense of smaller accounts, possibly as a way of kind of fighting some of the spam and fake news in the account. Guys, we only have about maybe 7 minutes left because I want to leave time for questions. The third area where I'm investing a lot in my marketing over the next year, and I hope you can see I'm being very sincere. I'm actually showing you all of the tactics and the campaigns that I'm actually running right now. I'm actually truly spending a lot of time and energy on Facebook Messenger and chatbot marketing. And so basically my third hack has to do with growth marketing. Kind of hack has to do with Facebook Messenger ads. So if you know anything about me, I used to be like the biggest cheerleader for Facebook ads. Like I spent literally 5 years kind of talking up Facebook ads and how great the targeting is and kind of pumping their tires, if you will. Unfortunately, over the last five or 6 years, Facebook has been really jacking up the prices on these crazy ads. So much so that audiences that I used to pay $1 per 1,000 impressions for have gone up to between $100 and $150, per 1,000 impressions in the last 6 years for the exact same audiences, and that's really problematic because every 1% increase in price is actually a 1% decrease in return on investment for you or your clients. So basically, I've more or less actually kissed Facebook ads goodbye. I still do remarketing. I still do a couple things here and there, but largely I've kissed Facebook ads goodbye because I can't get the CPAs to work. However, there is one big exception. And that is that I still do this thing called sent to messenger ads, which is kind of the biggest kept secret, the biggest value growth hack in Facebook ads, if you ask me. So what happens is, like, if you run an ad like this for a chatbot marketing summit or for some content, instead of having a button that says click here, like visit the website, there's a different button. It says send message. Okay, so what happens is when someone clicks that button, you actually capture all of their contact information. So all their first name, last name, location, time zone, gender, profile photo, like all this information gets sent to your business, and you also get messaging permission. So it's basically they're subscribing to your updates, your future messenger updates. So you can do chat blasts. Basically, you can send out chat blasts using MobileMonkey to all your subscribers. This kind of reminds me of the like ad campaigns that used to run, like 7 years ago on Facebook, where you pay money to get people to like your page so you can show up in their newsfeed. Well, the the 2019 equivalent of that is the send to messenger ad. So basically what I do is I run these send to messenger ads, and they are really, really good because uh, uh, the way I look at it is that in the old way of doing Facebook ads, where you would send people to your website, you were paying, $3, $4, $5 a click, and maybe 2 or 3% of the people would actually convert to a sale. Okay, so that could yield very, very expensive cost per clicks, cost per conversions of like $300, $400, $500 per lead, which is crazy. The send to messenger ads is kind of interesting because anyone who clicks on the button, regardless of like what they do after they click on it, like you get all their contact information and the ability to push notifications to them. You see what I'm saying? So it's almost like we've just increased we basically increased the conversion rate by 50 times, okay, from going from 2% to 100%. And so I wanted to share some early data of stuff that I'm doing in my account. I actually use the messenger ads to promote our summits, and I'm sure that thousands of people on this call today are actually as a result of the ads that I was running. I'm able to get leads for anywhere from $3, $4, $5 per lead, which is pretty good if you consider the click ad campaigns. It costs me $300, $400, $500 a lead. But there's other things that I can do with these leads. I just wanted to show you briefly here how that works. Basically, in the so these are like the Facebook campaigns that I'm running for Growth Marketing Summit, and as you can see, I'm spending a couple $1,000s to get a couple thousand contacts, which is probably on average like maybe $1 or $2 for each lead, and I can show you what the ads look like. The ads look like this, and here we are. Let's just edit the ad. It just says, hey guys, blah blah blah. Check out our Growth Marketing Summit, and instead of the click to website, there's a send message button. So if you were to preview that preview message, it just says, hey Larry, like, do you want more leads? All right. Did you see what just happened there? It's pretty cool. So you're actually sending push notifications to the user, to their messenger thing, and it's like, do you want more leads? And you click, of course. And now I'm a contact in the system. It's then grab your ticket. Here's the link, etc. But now you can use Mobile Monkey software to do two things, because now they're a contact in the system. You can actually send them drip campaigns. So let's take a look at that. The drip campaigns. So this is like, everyone who becomes a contact, they get a sequence of messages. This is Mobile Monkey. Like, you can see the editor allows me to create a bunch of a sequence of messages to send to them. It's actually about 8 messages over the next day or two. It's kind of like remarketing, except that you're not paying for it. Okay, so in remarketing, after someone visits your website, you follow them around with ads, like according to where they go. Well, in a messenger ad, what you do is you follow them around with like follow-up drip campaigns, and so those are the messages that get sent out. And you can see here in the drip campaigns, the sequence and the timing it's pretty compacted. So like over a period of like a day or two, we'll send all of them out. Unfortunately, I'm just having some connection issue here. So chat campaigns are pretty cool. The other thing you can do is you can do just one-off chat blasts. So just think of it like MailChimp, how you can send out email blasts to all of your customers. Through using MailChimp, using something like Mobile Monkey, you can actually send out content and updates of your messenger to those same contacts. And it's kind of the same idea where you use the editor to just create stuff and send it out. So basically, Messenger ads is kind of a serious focus for 2018. It's actually the #1 priority for me in terms of my Facebook ads strategy, and there is actually no way to set up these things in Business Manager, believe it or not. Yeah, they only have an API for Messenger, and so you actually have to use like a Messenger to marketing tool like MobileMonkey to do that. So in terms of chatbot marketing, I think it's really exciting. As you can see, I'm using, in my specific use case, I'm using chatbots as a way to kind of get dramatically better return on investment on Facebook ads. I'm also using it as a way to do remarketing, like to just to ping them like 10 times over a couple days, so that they remember that interaction. Messaging, it's kind of a big trend that's been going on for a couple of years now. Most people prefer to get their communications through messaging, yet businesses haven't really figured this out yet. And so the idea here is just move, like, use the communication methods that your customers are using. And then next year is going to be a big year as WhatsApp and Instagram and Apple and Android are all coming out with messaging APIs, and so more and more businesses are going to be jumping on this bandwagon. And so that's actually one of the reasons why I founded MobileMonkey. It's because it's kind of the next growth marketing hack for the next 5 years, if you ask me. And I've actually been pretty good at kind of picking kind of the next horse, if you will. So guys, in terms of a summary, what are my top 3 growth marketing hacks for 2019? We talked about kind of machine learning and how you really have to beat these algorithms to get engagement across all these Google and Facebook related paid and organic channels. Higher click-through rates equals better visibility. We talked about the pockets of areas in LinkedIn and Facebook groups and Twitter where there's still hope to get some amazing reach. And lastly, we talked a little bit about Facebook Messenger, specifically the ads use case of Facebook Messenger marketing. I mean, there's tons of things that you can do in Facebook Messenger marketing, but I really think that this is kind of the way to do ads going forward, as it is like you're capturing messaging permissions, which is immensely more valuable than stupid emails, because what's the delivery rate on email? It's like 3, 4, 5%. That's ridiculous. Messenger chat marketing, you can get like 60, 70, 80% open rates. So guys, that's kind of my 3 areas for today. We'll open up for questions. I just wanted to let you know that you can get all these slides by going to the following link, bit.ly/3-growth-hacks. So Clayton, are you still there? Do we have any questions from our audience today?
We sure do, and we've got about 10, 12 minutes to answer them. The top rated one is from Lisa. Lisa's asking, here, let me just get off of that. Lisa's asking, what would be a way to find out what your competitor's unicorn is, or baby unicorn, and then create your own in competition with them?
Yeah, that's actually a way of unicorn cloning. If something did really, really well for your competitor, there's a very, very high chance if you guys are direct competitors that same idea will do extremely well for you as well. Okay, and so marketers, they're really silly people in some ways. They're very biased, and they think that, oh, my new idea, even though it's unproven, and 99% of these ideas go nowhere. Okay, they have this belief that that their idea is better than something that it has proven itself, like a competitor campaign that if you go on SEMrush says that it's got like 1 million backlinks, or if you go on BuzzSumo, it says that this article has 1 million shares. You see what I'm saying? So you can kind of there's 2 ways to find the unicorn. One is you can look at your past performance of marketing campaigns and really drill down on the stuff that seem to do better than the rest. The other way you can do it is just look at the competitor campaigns using those competitive analysis tools like BuzzSumo and SEMrush to kind of guess what their top performing things are, and then just make a unicorn baby. Just kind of make a slight change to it and make it your own, if you will. I will admit something. What my greatest growth hack at my last business, WordStream, was the Google AdWords grader, and we were heavily inspired by HubSpot's website grader, so we just found a little piece of functionality that was missing from the original Unicorn, which is the HubSpot website grader, and then we built it into our own thing, which then in turn became its own Unicorn.
Yeah.
Next question.
Hey, we've got people asking for the Bitly link. Maybe you want to pull up that slide again?
Sure. Can you not see that? Oh, am I not sharing my screen anymore?
Yeah, you got to share your screen again. We went back.
Yeah, sorry. So, share the screen and share the screen.
Right above your head should be a menu when you hover with the screen sharing option.
There you go.
There we go. Got it. There it is. There's the Bitly link. All right, next question. Hey, Larry, this is from Lisa. If you could divide your time on content extension strategy, Unicorn Babies, versus content amplification, Unicorn Alert, how would you divide it?
Well, the content amplification comes automatically if you follow the Unicorn strategy. Okay, so like the machine learning algorithms are already looking for high engagement content to fill up the news feed, to show up in high organic positions in search, etc. Do you see what I'm saying? So I kind of would prioritize just like the click-through rate optimization and just the finding of those topics first and foremost, because without that click-through rate, nothing else is possible. Like the content amplification will go absolutely nowhere if you're promoting donkeys, right? Because all those paid channels, like, or even organic channels, like if you do an email blast and the open rate is like 5 or 10%, it's just not gonna. It's actually, the machine learning spam filters are just gonna take that spam and they're gonna put it into the dungeon. You know what I mean? Into like promotions tab and all this stuff. It's kind of impossible, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay. With the next question is, what are the quality of leads that you get from Facebook Messenger?
That's kind of a funny question, because if you think about it, there's 1.3 billion users of Facebook Messenger, and these are essentially the identically same people who use Facebook and that you're targeting with Facebook ads. You know what I mean? So like, the question is, shouldn't be about like Facebook Messenger, how's that different, because they're the same people, they're Facebook users. Okay, the main question is, did Facebook ever work for you in the past? Like, if you had previously had a Facebook fan page that was doing well, and then if you had previously been doing like Facebook ads and that was doing well for you, well then Messenger is kind of like this third new way of reaching the same people that you used to be able to reach really effectively and very cheaply, except that it's actually not broken right now. Like, it's not ruined by high competition. It really is a kind of a loophole for now, because only 1 or 2% of businesses are doing it. Although I don't expect it to be like this forever. Like no growth marketing channel ever is. But highly recommend you take a look at like MobileMonkey and get started with this. It's kind of a big topic. It's hard to cover all of chatbot marketing and messenger marketing in like one section of a summit, but of a presentation. But you definitely should take a look at that.
How about conversion rates on those leads from messenger ads? Somebody's asking, what's the average conversion rate on leads from messenger ads? Sure, it depends on a lot.
Well, I mean, it has to do with how you define conversion rate. So a lot of times you're doing messenger ads for lead generation, right? So the conversion is to capture the contact information of the user, correct? Well, with messenger ads, that happens automatically. Anyone who clicks send a message, that contact information is sent directly to MobileMonkey. So you can see here, I'll see if I can show it to you. MobileMonkey go to contacts here. So like this list of contacts here, these are all the people who clicked on my ads. We get their profile photo, their first name, last name, their location, their can you see this on my screen here, Clayton?
Yep.
Their gender, their location, their country, their time zones, and the ability to push notifications to these people. You see what I'm saying? And the ability to do drip campaigns to these users. So the question is, like, what's the conversion rate? Well, I get every one of their contact information. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to buy whatever the heck you're trying to sell, but this is like you have messaging permission. So, I can send them, offers for the next, 6 to 12 months, provided that they don't unsubscribe, sometime, between now and then, hopefully they take the next step, which is to, buy something from you. And I think this is a lot better than regular Facebook ads where, you still have to collect people's, like, it's still the same flow. You still have to capture their contact information and kind of nurture them to become a sale. The only difference is in regular, click ads, like vanilla Facebook ads, only 2% of the people who click your ads on average end up providing you their contact information. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Awesome. We have time for a couple more questions. We have 3 minutes. Edmund's asking, for the articles that failed, did you just kill those and take them offline?
There's absolutely no need to delete a donkey because that's handled automatically for you by Facebook and Google. If an article is doing so poorly, it's going to have a very low click-through rate, right? It's a donkey, right? So it's never going to show up in a Facebook newsfeed, and it's never going to show up, high in organic search results. You see what I'm saying? And because of how machine learning works, like it needs to be something really popular for it to get any visibility. So yeah, you don't have to delete them, but like maybe if you just want to clean up the mess or something, you can delete them. But effectively, you can consider them as automatically invisible, in the eyes of pretty much everything.
Got it.
Makes sense.
Got it. And then finally, Kelly's asking, where can we find Larry's slideshow? You can do it a few different ways. You can buy the All Access Pass, and you can see the whole presentation and the slideshow. Let's see what else. Do you want to stop sharing your screen?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, that would be the way to do it. So all of these are going to be recorded, and we're allowing access to these for a certain period of time, but it's very short. If you want access to all of the presentations, to the content, to all the Q&A sections, get the All Access Pass. It's in a green button right below our faces. There's a ton more that's included in that, and we're ready to go to the next session. Larry, thank you so much for joining us. Any final words?
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this historic growth marketing summit, and it's just great to partner with you on this, Basil and your team. Thank you. Or Clayton.
Absolutely. Sure. Always a pleasure, and we'll talk to you soon. For those that are still out there, look, we have got an amazing panel coming up next with DocuSign, SaaStr, HipLead. Vasil's going to be emceeing that, so if you'll just hang tight where you are, we'll send you right over into that session. And for those of you that have been with us all day, thank you so much. I see you in the audience.